go pretty quickly. Just kind of demonstrate, like, really that this term biohacking can mean almost anything for our community. So with that, so I see kind of one subcategory being using biological materials as an artistic medium. So what you see here in the middle is a sculpture by Gary Hoffman, who's an MIT professor. She's kind of this really cool mix of scientist and designer. What she did here is she took chitosan, which is the chemical that makes up the shell of shrimp. So she got a whole bunch of shrimp, grinded it up, and then played around with different ratios and different other materials, and then made a giant 3D printer to 3D print these really interesting structures. What we see here and here are designs from Ecovative. What they do is they take like filler material like wood, sawdust, imbue it with mycelium, which is kind of the roots of a mushroom, or not actually the roots, but kind of the core of a mushroom, and then you take that material, mold it, and then mycelium goes through it, makes kind of a rigid material that you can use really to make anything. Down there you see what's called agar art. What you do is you take bacteria and you grow them, and you genetically engineer them to produce a certain color. And then you can take the bacteria, swab them around, and draw things like the Starry Night. So that's getting a bit into actual genetic engineering, where you're actually reprogramming the bacteria to do something completely different. Down here is a project called Biota Beats, where some guy swabbed different parts of his body, I think, then grew the different bacteria on a piece of vinyl, and then made a system that like would make a noise whenever it came across a different bacteria. So he could use the bacteria from his body to make music in like a DJ set. So it's a pretty far out idea, but you can get pretty creative with biology. So I'm going to talk about the one in the top corner in a bit more detail. It's an example of kombucha leather, or like vegan leather, which some people had mentioned. So if you're not familiar with kombucha, it's a fermented tea that comes from something called a SCOBY, or a mother. SCOBY is a synthetic colony of bacteria and yeast. So that's what this mat is here, and it makes this kind of thick material. And what you can do is you can grow that in big sheets, then move it around, and then mold it into a material that, you know, acts like leather, looks like leather, but doesn't involve killing any cows. And so this is an example of a really fun project where there's a lot of room to kind of explore and experiment, but there's a pretty low barrier to entry. It doesn't involve actual modifying the DNA of any organism.
Is that the slimy thing that's been sitting in the fridge?
I don't actually know.
Yeah,
So I understand what you get floating in the kombucha is cellulose. That the bacteria and the yeast convert the lactic acid into cellulose, and then it's like the material of wood, but you can extrude it or mold it like plastic.
Yeah, and then you can do things to kind of play with to adjust the flexibility and the texture of it, like that as well. So next, I want to get into some projects that involve a bit more actual like genetic engineering, modifying the program of life. But before that, we're going to do like a quick 5-second explanation of some terms just to make that a bit easier. So just in case just for the people who aren't totally familiar with kind of the core of genetic engineering, in each one of our cells we have the genome, which is kind of like a big cookbook that has all the recipes for all the parts of our body, okay? And then within that cookbook, there are recipes for specific, specific dishes or pastries, which would correspond to, our hair or different parts of our body. And the part of the genome that corresponds to that is called a gene. So one gene creates one protein, which is like how one recipe produces one pie or something like that. So super quick, but basically, you've got a genome. Within the genome, there are genes, and the corresponding gene produces a protein or an enzyme that is the final product of the whole living system, basically. So with that, I want to talk about some Thought Emporium projects. Thought Emporium is a YouTube site where this guy, Justin Atkins, does some really cool biohacking stuff. He's kind of like a god of basement biohackers, I would say. So some of his favorite projects of mine is one's called Spider Beer. Basically, so let's see. So who's familiar with brewing? Kind of the idea behind it, right? So you take yeast. You put yeast in some nutrient-rich liquid, and the yeast convert the sugars into alcohol. So yeast are really good at taking one thing and turning it into another thing. And we as humans have been using yeast for this purpose for a long time, so we have a really good understanding of how yeast does this, which means it's a really good kind of subject for for biohacking, because we can take the yeast and have it produce something completely different, which is what Justin did here. He took the gene from spiders that genes use to produce the silk. He took that gene, put it inside yeast, and then grew the yeast like you would grow yeast, except instead of making alcohol, the yeast makes spider silk. Now, of course, it's just floating around in the liquid. It's not being extruded like a spider would, but with some post-processing spinning like with yarn, you can turn that into an actual thread. The next one is a bit more far out, a little crazy, probably not something we should be doing here, but he actually did gene therapy on himself. So I guess he was lactose intolerant, so his body was missing an enzyme that would allow him to digest a part of milk. And so I don't know how many of you are lactose intolerant, but it kind of sucks. Makes eating anything with dairy really annoying. So what he did is he genetically engineered a virus to genetically engineer himself. Basically, he took a gene that coded for an enzyme that destroyed the thing in milk that made him sick. He took that gene, put it in a virus, and then ate the virus. So that when the virus went into his stomach, the virus went and put the gene and shoved it into the cells in his stomach so that his own body could then produce the enzyme that he wasn't able to do before. So just like Rich was saying, we can use this technology to completely change our lives, give us superpowers, give us glowing green skin if we want to do it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that, but if enough people really wanted to, we could try to do some stuff like that. So if this kind of stuff interests you, I definitely check out the Thought Emporium YouTube page. He does a lot of crazy stuff, and he really shows you what's possible just using scrounged equipment and things like that. So with that, I want to talk about kind of like a third category of what I think we should still consider biohacking, which is making open source hardware that enables doing biological research. So a lot of biology experiments, genetic engineering experiments that happen in scientific labs, they're using very expensive equipment. We can source, but it doesn't need to be that expensive. A lot of it's that expensive just because it can be, because in labs people they're not using their own money, they're using the government's money, so it's fine. So there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of making affordable versions of all these tools. So there's a whole, here's a whole smorgasbord of things. This is a centrifuge, which is something that spins liquids really fast in order to separate them. So this could cost $50,000, or you could repurpose an old hard drive to make one yourself. This is a really cool project here called OpenDrop. What it is a grid of electrodes that you can use to program, to move tiny droplets of liquid. And moving tiny droplets of liquid, what's the point of that? Well, most of actual genetic engineering involves just moving tiny amounts of liquid around. The tiny amounts of liquid hold your DNA and things like that. So something like this, you could automate all sorts of experiments by programming it to move the different droplets around for you. So as you can see, even if you're just interested in designing circuits and doing electronics, there's still a way to be involved in bioengineering. So talked about a lot of really cool projects, and kind of as JR mentioned before, they happen. These don't have to happen in kind of big academic labs. They can happen in basements. They can happen in other makerspaces. There are a few kind of really big makerspaces that are devoted solely to biohacking. If you were like Gen Space in Brooklyn, Boss Lab in Boston, Counter Curious in SF, these tend to have a slightly different model than we do here at MakeHaven, where in a place like this, it's very easy to have a whole bunch of tools, people can get trained on them, use them. Because there's kind of a much steeper learning curve in biology, these groups tend to work differently, where they have classes to go over specific concepts, or they'll work on group projects all together. Just because there's a lot of work, for all these projects, for most of these projects I mentioned, there's a lot of work that goes into them, and so it's really, it often works better to have a whole bunch of people working on one thing together. So another thing I just want to point out is something called How to Grow Almost Anything. This is kind of a distributed class that it kind of operates through the Fab Lab Foundation, which MakeHaven is actually a part of. So this is kind of a semester-long curriculum that happens, through video chat. So basically, there's like a kit that each space gets to make it work on their own. So if there's enough interest, this is something we could raise money for. It's a really cool curriculum, and we could work towards that. So just that. So I mentioned that these labs, they tend to work on big projects together. So some of those are like the open insulin project. So insulin is a naturally occurring protein that some people with diabetes can't regulate themselves, and so there's something that they need to buy, and it can be really expensive even through insurance. And so there's actually a group of DIY biospaces, not just one. Groups across the country are working together to genetically engineer yeast to produce insulin, just like that guy engineered yeast to produce spider silk. They're using the same idea to make insulin. So imagine a world where instead of having to pay a lot of money to go to the pharmacy to get insulin, you could have your little homebrew keg going in the basement and it's making insulin for you. There's also projects like the Real Vegan Cheese Project, where they're taking all the proteins that make cheese and having yeast make it instead of having cows make it. And so, it should taste like cheese. It literally is the same thing as cheese, it just didn't come from a cow. On the hardware side, there's also the metafluidics repository. For those of you familiar with Thingiverse, which is a website where you can download anything to 3D print, this is a repository for microfluidic chips, which are little rectangles of hardware that have channels in them that you can use to do kind of experiments on a micro scale. And to finish up, because I know a lot of people are interested in this. Yeah. So,
Fake meat?
Yeah, fake meat, fake milk, fake anything with animals. So there's a lot of startups working on projects like this, but a lot of individual groups too. I think this is interesting because it's kind of for me, the best direct application of this new technology. So kind of like I mentioned before, these are all companies that are taking the parts of animal products that people really like and making bacteria or yeast produce them instead of animals. So they're taking all the fats, all the proteins that make milk taste good and healthy for you, and having bacteria make them, or having yeast brew them for you instead of having to get them from cows. They're doing that for shrimp. If you've heard of the Impossible Burger, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good burger. Yeah.
Do vegetarians refuse to eat the fake meat?
I'm sure it's on an individual basis. Some people just aren't interested in.
Really? No one had to kill it.
Yeah. Personal preference, I'm sure. But yeah, so like here, this looks, to me, it looks a little grainy, but to me it looks like a pretty real hamburger. What they've taken is heme, which is the protein that makes the red stuff that comes out when you take a bite from a juicy burger, and put that into plants, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had it before. It's actually pretty good. So I know this sounds like a whirlwind of different examples, but I hope you kind of saw that the word biohacking can really mean, it doesn't have to be scientist in a lab, engineering things. It could just be making an automated mushroom